Reverend Wendell Anthony, we find ourselves again, I think, trying to decide which emotion is right. Is it sadness? Is it anger? Is it frustration? This just keeps happening. And I got to say, I'm tired of deciding which emotion is the right one. I want this to change. And I guess I just don't know what will make that happen.
Well, Stephen, always good to be with you. I mean, you feel like I do. I think it's a combination of all of the emotions at the same time. You're angry, you're frustrated, you're disappointed, you're disgusted, you're challenged. You want to do something. You want something to stop. You want something to start. And here we are again. And the tragedy, Steve, though you and I both know, this is not the last one. It's going to happen again until we recognize that there's not a black problem or a brown problem or a red or a yellow problem. America has a problem. And the problem is racism. It's white supremacy. It's those who believe that black and brown people have achieved too much and taken things away from them. The fact that an 18-year-old man, white man, drove 200 miles, armed, planned, and executed 10 black people, wounding others whom he'd never met, ain't done nothing to him, because he got bored during the pandemic when he was at home with his mama. Something is wrong here. And the fact that you have politicians, Republicans, and they must own this. The Republican Party must own this. Not the Democrats, the Republicans must own it. Because these are Republican extremists and people who are fighting that, championing the dogma of Kevin McCarthy, Marjorie Taylor Greene, of all these individuals, Max Gaetz, of all these folk who are enabling them. The fact, I agree with Liz Cheney, that the GOP has enabled this mess to occur. And until they step up and negate and expel these people and say, we don't want nothing to do with this, and enforce policies and programs that speak to collectivity rather than individuality, we got a problem. It's interesting, Stephen, I'm sitting between Jeremiah Wright on my right and Barack Obama on my left. Now, y'all didn't like Jeremiah because you said he was too strong. He told the truth. And he was just too hard. Okay, you didn't like Barack Obama, and he was the president, and he tried to bring everybody together. On the one hand, you didn't like Jeremiah because you said he was too divisive. On the other hand, you didn't like Obama because he was trying to unify the country. Well, what the hell do you want then? I mean, somewhere we have got to come together and face our reality.
Obviously, I agree with what you're saying, and this does lie at the feet of white conservatism, white republicanism, whatever you want to call it. But I want to talk about white comfort, because that is what that's just what came to mind for me after this happened over the last week. It's not the people who are pushing these things who are only responsible. It's those people who might even be of good faith and not believe in white supremacy, want things to be equal, but whose lives aren't affected by this, and who don't come out of their comfort zone to say, we can't have this, we're not doing this. Some of these folks vote Republican in some of these cases. Some of these folks live in communities where there aren't African Americans, or African Americans are kept out. And Martin Luther King talked about the danger of the white moderate. I think that's where a lot of our problem lies.
Stephen, you see me nodding at everything you're saying because you're right on point, because I was going to make that point. Dr. King said it well. We will not remember so much the loud noise and the bad stuff from the bad people of this generation, but we will remember the silence of the good people of this generation. I was asked the other day by a reporter, what are you going to say to your church? Or what did you say to your church the Sunday after the shooting? Well, I say to my church what I say all the time. Out of these ashes, we rise. We have challenges that we still must forge ahead. that we still must love and work and have faith and put work to our faith and to our prayers, that we live in a society that is still challenged. But that's not the question, Steve. The question is, what do the white pastors, the white preachers, the white leaders, where are the white civil rights leaders? Why do you come to Wendell Anthony and folk like me all the time when Wendell Anthony ain't shooting nobody? Wendell Anthony ain't got no racism issue to ploy and to dig deep. I'm not trying to talk about people are taking over and this replacement theory. Y'all are. What do you say to your congregation in Grosse Pointe, in Dearborn, in Troy, in Rochester, in Livonia? What are you saying to them on Sunday mornings? Where are all the big preachers who have all these programs, the evangelicals who believe in the message of God and of Christ, who talks about loving your neighbor as yourself and doing unto others as you would have them do unto you? What is your message to them? I don't hear none. And so I'm simply, I agree with you, Stephen. And that's why when you're at your job, when you are at your church, when you're at your club, when you're playing bid whist or playing poker or whatever your game is, and you all having these little discussions and somebody throws some stuff on the table that you know ain't right, you got to check it. And when you have the opportunity to make a difference in terms of diversity in your company, you need to inspire it and create it. And isn't it something that Mitch McConnell and a delegation of Republicans went to the Ukraine to talk about democracy over there and freedom over there and how we must support this move for democracy over there, but they won't do a darn thing over here. They still will not do anything to deal with gun violence, to deal with gun checks, and to deal with not taking your weapons, a Second Amendment. They always want to hide behind the Second Amendment. That's the biggest lie in town. Ain't nobody trying to take your guns. People are trying to get you to be responsible with your guns, and you won't do nothing with that. And all this talk about being pro-life, no, you're not pro-life, you are pro-birth. And then when the baby is born, you tell them to go to hell. You won't do nothing with healthcare. You won't do nothing with gun violence. You won't do nothing with education. You won't do nothing with jobs and high wages and livable wages. And yet you run around there talking about you're pro-life, you're pro-birth, and you're pro-death because you will not engage in making a difference. So there's room in this boat for all of us. W.E.B. Du Bois said it well years ago when he said the problem of the 20th century is the problem of the color line. The problem of the 21st century is still the problem of the color line. And he also said that America will be destroyed because of ignorance. And unless we destroy ignorance, the United States will be destroyed. This is ignorance at its highest level. Nobody trying to replace anybody. Critical race theory does not exist. We have a critical racial issue in America, and let's deal with it. Calling all good white folk, all good black folk, all good brown folk, red folk, yellow folk, whatever kind of folk we need, you are. We need you, and we're calling you. Yeah. America needs you. Yeah. People need you if we're going to get out of this mess.
So we've only got a couple of minutes left, but I also want to talk a little about Black radicalism and the role that it used to play, maybe the role that we needed to play now in moving more people to the idea that they got to do something about this.
Well, Stephen, that is true, but it's not Black radicals that are running around here shooting up supermarkets.
True.
They did not shoot up a Jewish synagogue. They did not go to Texas and kill folk who are from Mexico and our Latino brothers. The Anti-Defamation League recently said that of the 450 recent killings, right-wing extremists have done 75% of those. Islamic extremists are responsible for about 20%, and left-wing are responsible for 4%.
So, but then the question is,
register in that.
So I'm asking, should we have more Black radicalism? Do we need more Black radicalism now to focus people's attention on this problem? Not violence, obviously, but the more radical instinct that says, if we are going to live like this in this country, then everybody's going to live this way. It's not just going to be us who are under threat, who are victims all the time. That it's not, we are not going to let everybody else exist in peace while we exist in terror.
Well, Stephen, you're trying to get me in trouble now, because when the people are looking at the revolution, Reverend Anthony is calling for a revolution of behavior. Reverend Anthony believes, just as Christ was called a radical, he was called an extremist. Dr. King was called an extremist. He was an extremist for love and equal opportunity and equity. He was an extremist for bringing people together. That's the same kind of extremity I'm talking about. Yet it's hard to tell people to lay down your weapons and to be good citizens when everybody around you is coming at you. I remember what Coleman Young said years ago when they would say, well, are you going to talk about disarming in Detroit? He said, as long as you got all these hostile white suburbs around me, I'm not going to be talking about disarming anything. Now, I am not suggesting Black people should take up arms, but I am saying that we cannot be passive in our behaviors, in our policies, in our voting. We have to be radical in our thinking, radical in our positive and constructive behavior to get out, take our souls to the polls, to get engaged, and to let people know that hell no, this won't go. We won't accept this.